Eno Extreme Media UJ. Subscribe for all updates.
I'm active on public interest litigation. I thought we had met, but it's nice to meet you. On your comments on active citizenry, to some extent I agree with you, but the questions I pose: how come we are not able to enforce Article 3? 2, how come we don't behave like our neighbors in Kenya? So maybe that's the active citizenry I would love to see. We can say to some extent we have, but of course that's why me and you are here. We are active citizens. I regard myself as an active citizen. I regard the radical new bar as active citizens. But how many are we, and how come we watched on to have a life presidency against the constitution that we had made as a country? Term limits are removed, age limit is removed, Parliament has collapsed now to the ground, the speaker is an MC on rallies, when her office requires her to be impartial and neutral, then where are these active citizens? So, to some extent we have some active citizens, but we don't have the required active citizenry to protect democracy in this country. So we need to do more and recruit more people to this side of ours. So when you look at the rule of law works for the regime, and I agree with you, we have rule by law, but let's also look beyond political cases. Let's look at citizens. Which type of citizens are able to access justice? You can look at even how the cases are tracked. Let's take the Mole Katanga case. 2 years, we shall soon have a judgment. How many people are languishing on remand for more than 30 years and they don't have justice? Remand becomes a punishment in itself. Those are the poor people I'm talking about. People who run illegal aid clinics know the numbers of people that cannot access justice in this country. The latest report, I think, puts the number of people who can access justice at 10%. Then what happens to the 90%? So that's the issue I'm talking about when I say it's for the rich, it's for people with means. If it's for, as compared to the people without means, if you cannot afford prominent lawyers, if you cannot even afford a lawyer at all, what are the chances that you can access justice in this country? So that's the parameter I was using, and I think we agree on both ends. The law works for the regime, rule by law, but also for ordinary people in non-political cases. Justice is for the rich. When your case of Besija, it's a reference and it's a good one, 201. It was a very good case, and I want now to respond to Okello and David. David asks questions of like, how can we get out of, the context we are in? Is a benevolent dictator better? Why do we need a dictator at all? I am a democracy activist. I don't want to associate with any form of dictatorship. I know many theories have come up saying this democracy cannot work for us, it's imported, we need to change it. I don't associate with those views. If you go back to our traditional society, for example, kingdom setup, there were 3 arms of government in a kingdom setup. You had the Ruchiko, which was the parliament, you had the court, and you had the executive with the cabinet. What is different is just the name. I don't know what kind of democracy. Democracy stands for basically 3 things: representation, accountability, and then people making a choice. So what kind of, if we fail on the 3 basics, how can we blame a system? How come this very democracy is working for other countries? At the time Obote one government released the Common Man's Charter that was copied by Singapore. We were at the same level. Singapore, if you read that big volume of how I think when you moved Singapore from third world to first world, we were the same country. They used the same kind of democracy. How come for them they are able to develop? How come countries like Ghana are able to develop? How come Botswana is going into a first world country? They use the same kind of democracy. So how come then us, we keep blaming colonialists and the system of representation that we have, thinking it's the problem, and we fail to blame leadership? Our problem is leadership. It's not the democracy that we practice. The universality of standards, Mabiri's talked about it. Democracy is universal. So how come for us we keep blaming universal principles and we think that's our problem? So David, international community cannot help us. We need first help ourselves. And since I'm talking to the land friends out there, the law society, help us redeem Parliament as a temple of democracy. Let's have, through the Radical New Band Vision 2060, let's have 200 lawyers as MPs, and we see if they will also destroy our constitution, if they will also amend laws after bribery, like we saw the UPDF Amendment Act, 100 million bribery. We see if they will also pass bogus supplementary budgets after bribery, and then we know our society cannot be redeemed. So this is the challenge. Vision 2060 Radical New Bar. Send 200 lawyers to Parliament. Let them rework our laws. Let them reset our democratic clock as a country. And I think for me, our solution lies through redeeming the temple of democracy, which is Parliament. Parliament can enforce checks and balances. Parliament can make sure the judiciary that the Radical New Bar is trying to reform on the sidelines, you can reform it better by taking up Parliament, because judiciary is accountable to the temple of democracy known as Parliament, which has completely collapsed under state capture and incompetent leadership. When you go to the question of Okelo, what are the practical safeguards? The safeguards are known. Rule of law will protect the fundamental rights and freedoms of the people. Our constitution is clear, chapter 4, article 50, that we use for public interest litigation. The problem is that we have no enforcers of our laws. We have no protection for rule of law. And that's why I'm inviting the Uganda Law Society, 2031, take up Parliament, take it over, and reset our democratic clock. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Jonathan, you can go forth.
They open up your phone, they start looking at contact by contact and asking you questions on each and every person. They even open your WhatsApp messages and start asking you, who is this person? How do you know this person? What do you do with this person? And if you manage, or if you happen to have photographs of the National Unity Platform candidate, your case is different. We as lawyers, we try our best to get bail. We have tried so many times to get bail. And of course, to apply for habeas corpus for most of these people who have been picked up. But even at situations or scenarios where we try to do this, we have court that sometimes tells you, as you've had, as we recently saw in the case of the two Kenyans, that you cannot squeeze a rock out of a stone. I mean, you cannot squeeze water or blood out of a stone. So we have had these situations. It goes back to the same thing I was saying. It feels like we're in a war. A war with a system. A war with the state. And I must confess, ULS has not done so much to assist us. That's what I must confess. ULS has not done so much to assist us. Recently in Kawempe, we had about 89 people who have been arrested. These 89, most of them were picked up from the rally of Honorable Robert Chagulanyi. And they were squeezed in the police post. Mr. Malik was squeezed in. Squeezed there. 37 were brought to court in the morning. Another 25 were brought to court later on. We have tried to get for them bail, but everyone is crying. We're beaten up. We're beaten up. We have not committed any offenses. Most of us were found walking back home. How is walking back home an offense? And this was repeated in Iganga, because most times we forget that Iganga also had the same thing. This was repeated in Iganga. We had 17 people arrested from Iganga, and about 13 of them are still behind bars to date. We saw that one of the people, one of the children, died in that election, in that campaign. That is Mr. Chokelo. He was shot in the head. Not the stomach, not the legs, he was shot in the head. We also saw videos of police officers and military men jumping out of the trucks and starting to shoot. We saw those videos. What has the Electoral Commission said about this? What has the police said about this? The only thing they're doing, blame NUP for these things. Recently, they said processions are not supposed to be, the National Unity Platform candidate is not supposed to hold processions. But we always ask, under what law? Under what law are you stopping this? The best they do is to tell us you're not allowed to do this. But Uganda is a country that has laws. Under what laws are they using to stop us from doing most of these things? Quote the laws. Say you're stopping us from doing this under the Public Order Management Act. Let us understand that the law says this. Not military men coming on TV, not police officers coming on TV and assuring us that we are not allowed to do certain things. I have personally read the laws. I have not seen any law stopping us from having processions, which we don't have. The candidate is popular. We all know this. The candidate is popular. People want to see him. So the people who want to see him, are they all supposed to be arrested? Are we supposed to be arrested for being curious? We're not. And it is a campaign. We saw that in Gulu. Our candidate was battered. We saw sudden magic, blood pouring from his head. What has police said about it? Nothing. What has the Electoral Commission said about it? Nothing. So, are we still being protected? Are voters going to be protected? Let's look at cases of defacement. Recently, about 5 NUP members, whose matter is coming up tomorrow, were arrested for defacement, allegedly defacing the pictures of Museveni and his other candidates. But no one saw these people. They were just called to the police station and told, come and answer charges at the police station. They reached the police station and are charged with defacement. Just because they believe these are popular candidates. Because most of the people who are being arrested, some of them are members of the National Unity Platform who are standing for these positions, for certain electoral positions. So they are arrested and charged with defacement. The intention is to have people behind bars, actually to release the people after the elections are done. That is the intention. That is why we have over 200 people in jail as the National Unity Platform. And you hear stories. Today you go to court, you're told, no, the magistrate is not around. Come back the next day. This is happening in Chiruhura. Then you go back the next day, the state attorney is not around. They're telling you, no, you come back on the next day. And we're all seeing that Christmas is fast approaching. And no one is going to work on Christmas. I believe so. Judicial officers will not work on Christmas. State attorneys will not work on Christmas. The intention is to have these people behind bars until the elections are done. So as voters, because these are potential voters. Who is protecting them? Is it the Electoral Commission? The answer is no. I conclude by saying, there is a saying by I think it is a pastor, Pastor Martin. These are words of Pastor Martin. First they came for the communists, and I did not speak because I was not a communist. And then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak because I'm not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews. I did not speak because I am not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. I call on the Uganda Law Society. I call on all advocates out there. This is not a fight for the National Unity Platform. This is a fight for justice now. Anyone who is able to, if you believe an injustice is being committed, lend a hand. Even as a surety, come and be a surety. As an advocate, come and be an advocate. Come and represent these our members. If you are at court on that day, come and represent. You do not need to wait for the call. Because today, it's our supporters. It's us today. Tomorrow it could be you. And we need to be there for ourselves. Thank you.
Abalungi abatuuliriza era abatulaba olunaku olwaleero tuchaddeko ewa Sheikh Ashraf Dembe.
Sebo sanyusa okubalaba amannya agange Seeka Ashraf Dembe akola ku bizibu by'enjawulo. Omuntu singa aba alina ebirwadde musomereddwa tunywa amazzi ga lukuya nga bw'obadde ogalaba tugenda abantu ku kyoto ne twokya emizimu emibi egibabaamu n'okulomba edduwa. Abantu singa abeera ng'ali wano atuuse sobola okumulombera edduwa ne waba atatuuse nga mpadde amannya ge naye ng'ali wala. Neetaase enamba yange yeeno eri 0707363711. Nammwe bannyinaffe abali ebweru oyagala okuba nti oyagala okulombera ku dduwa ng'olina ebizibu viza zibuze amaka gakolongotana sente zikola zimpita mu ngalo ojja kumpeereza ekifaananyi kyo n'amannya go ebyo byokka bijja kummala nja kukulombera edduwa ojja kutereera. Olunaku olusembayo mu mwezi mba n'edduwa eyawamu ffenna n'abalwadde bange abakadde n'abapya. Salaamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.